Assalamualaikum and greetings to Miss Norhafizah and to all the friends that are watching my video that I made for presenting my assessment to individual presentation on the resume that I have proofread and corrected. So I am Mohamad Amir Khair bin Anasir from JLG1204C and this is my presentation. Before we start, I will briefly mention what am I going to talk about in this video. So firstly, I will be commenting on the context errors made by Ezri Farhan in his resume, then the content errors, and then the language errors, and lastly, I will be giving my thoughts and conclude all of the things that Ezri Farhan has made and maybe some sort of advice for future resumes that he will make. So firstly, I will show to you guys the cover letter and resume. Next is table of summaries. This is where I put in the errors and put in the where I wrote the corrections and give my justifications on why the error should be corrected. So firstly, we have the content errors highlighted in green. Then we have content. I'm sorry. The first is context error highlighted in green, and the second table is content errors highlighted in light blue, and lastly we have language errors highlighted in yellow. Let's start with context errors. So context errors is basically just the format errors made in the resume. And in this case, a resume is a formal letter, so it should follow the format, the standard format, for it to be appropriate. Firstly, I found that the bullet point number 3 in his personal skills section needs to start with an adjective to make all of the points parallel. In this case, ability needs to be changed to able. And why do I think that this error should be corrected is because parallel points are essential to make the resume neat and easy to comprehend. And the next error made in the context section is also a format error. In his achievements slash responsibilities sections, the colons are spaced from the subjects. This is incorrect. So the colons, the double dots, should not be spaced from the subject because this is not the standard writing format. Um, and by avoiding this can also help in consistency because previously in the previous point the writer did not space the colon after the subject. For example, in the achievements slash responsibility section, he wrote Dean Awards colon. Since the writer had already used this style, he needs to stick with it to maintain consistency. The next one is content error, and content errors basically have to do with all of the things that he wrote, the facts and all of the statements that he made. So I've checked all of the credibility and the truthfulness of his content, and one of the error that I found was in the category of incorrect information. The writer mentioned about his proficiency in Spanish, but he did not mention where he got his certificates or qualifications in Spanish. So, in the resume, in the cover letter, he mentioned that he can speak Spanish fluently, but in the resume, he did not even mention getting a formal education on the Spanish language. It was not recorded, so he can be seen as a fraud as there's no proof to have to back his claim about his proficiency in Spanish. If he has any reference or evidence, he needs to show it to avoid being suspicious. And the next one is inappropriate information for the target audience. He stated that he was the secretary and vice secretary of his club back in College Mara Seremban. This is unrelated to the role that he is applying for. The writer should only write what is necessary for the resume to avoid being unprofessional. So, while writing your resume, you are advised to stick to the same topic and only give achievements related to what you are applying for. So, for example, in the resume, he is applying for a junior translator role, and I don't think it is necessary for him to state that he was the secretary and vice secretary of his club. Lastly, language. In this section, I think I found the most errors, and let's get on with it. So, firstly, is singular and plural agreement. So, the error made was previous experience, and the correction that I suggested is previous experiences. So, why is that? Is because there was no article a before the noun, so it should be in plural form. So if there was an article, then it could be it could maintain as a singular noun. The next one is punctuation. So it was at the end of a sentence. He wrote application, comma, and I corrected by replacing the comma with a full stop, since the comma is replaced with a full stop to mark the end of a sentence, and comma is used to separate two clauses, and it is very different from full stop, and I changed it. So the last is spelling. The error made was he spelled the word present without the C. So Precint. And the correct spelling was Precint, as I've wrote in the slide. So I think he mistook the spelling because he is a Malaysian, and if you have been to Putrajaya, in the Malay language, present is spelled like like he spelled, which is there is no C in between N and T. So maybe he got confused, but he should do better to double check all of his spellings. So that is all. Now the conclusion, the errors that he made in context and language aspects can easily be fixed, and he needs to learn about the format of a formal writing and grammar rules. On the other hand, the errors that he made in the content aspect are detrimental to the possibility of him getting accepted for the job. The information that were falsified by him needs to be corrected, or else he would be a fraud and the hiring manager will not hire him. So that is all from me. Thank you so much for listening.